NASA has recently announced the Dragonfly mission as their next step in the New Frontiers program. This mission will send a nuclear-powered drone to the surface of Saturn's largest moon, Titan. There, it will study the habitability of the moon as well as try and search for life. So do you want to learn more about Saturn's moon Titan, the Dragonfly mission overall, and how it might search for life there? Then let's talk about that. Why is NASA sending a nuclear-powered drone to the surface of Titan? Now, in order to understand this, we must first look at the moon itself. And this is no ordinary moon. In fact, Titan is Saturn's largest moon, as I mentioned previously, and is the second largest moon in our solar system, only behind Jupiter's moon, Ganymede. But Saturn is pretty massive. It is actually larger than the planet Mercury and has a surface gravity of 1/7 of that here on Earth. Now that might not make sense just reading 1/7 of Earth's gravity. However, if we put that into perspective, the average human on Titan could jump around 3 to 4 meters high. So not only would you be able to dunk a basketball, but you would be able to completely jump over the basketball hoop. Since Titan is a moon of Saturn, therefore it orbits around the planet Saturn, which means that it has a distance of 1.434 billion kilometers away from the Sun. And since it's so far away from the Sun, it's going to be a relatively cold place. In fact, the average temperature on Titan is negative 180 degrees Celsius, which is pretty freezing. But these aren't the only things that make Titan unique. One of the biggest factors about this mission is Titan is the only moon in our solar system to have a thick atmosphere. In fact, the atmospheric pressure at the surface of Titan is 1.4 times that of our atmospheric pressure here on the surface of Earth. And this is a pretty critical factor to this mission. A combination of the lower surface gravity and the higher atmospheric pressure actually makes it easier to fly on Titan than it is to fly here on Earth. According to NASA, in theory, a person could attach wings to their arms, start flapping their arms, and could theoretically fly on Titan, which is kinda crazy to think about. But since the gravity is so small and you can leverage the higher atmospheric pressure, you could technically fly by just flapping your arms, which is pretty remarkable. The only problem with that is it's negative 180 degrees Celsius there, which means it would be very cold, and there isn't enough oxygen for you to breathe in the atmosphere. Speaking of Titan's atmosphere, roughly 95% of it is made up of nitrogen, with about the remaining 5% being made up of methane. Now this combination of nitrogen and complex organic molecules makes it such that we see an orangish haze when we look at the planet, from orbiters or from the Hubble Space Telescope. Now this is very interesting because methane is in the atmosphere, and at these very cold temperatures, methane can actually exist as a liquid. Therefore, it's thought that it can actually rain methane on Titan. And because of this, scientists predict or theorize that there are actually lakes, rivers, and oceans of methane on the surface of Titan, which you can see from this picture. They envision that some of these regions are actually represented as liquid regions of methane and ethane, which here on Earth can really only exist as gas. In fact, methane and ethane are commonly referred to as natural gas here on Earth, but since it's much colder there, they can exist as a liquid. The moon Titan gets even more bizarre than just the lakes of methane and ethane. It does have a solid surface, but not what you may think of. When we typically think of a solid surface for a lot of moons or terrestrial planets, typically we refer to as heavier elements, or things that aren't really going to melt unless they're under very high temperatures. However, on Titan, since it's always cold, scientists theorize that a majority of the surface that is solid is made up of water ice, which is kinda strange to think about. What we have as a liquid here on Earth is the solid surface on Titan. And underneath the ice, scientists also theorize there could be saltwater oceans, meaning that the volcanic activity that occurs on Titan isn't spewing out molten rock, but rather is releasing water or hot water, which is very weird to think about for this moon. Now, Titan sounds like a very foreign world to us, one that we would love to explore. And that's one of the reasons why NASA chose it. But the main reason is because Titan has methane, water, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, a lot of the crucial building blocks for life. So NASA wants to be able to understand whether or not life actually exists on Titan, as well as studying some of the chemical reactions in different regions of the moon to understand more about astrobiology as a whole. How will the Dragonfly mission go about detecting life on Titan, or even better, trying to understand the complex chemical reactions? And the answer to that right now is we're not sure. They're going to send a mass spectrometer on board the Dragonfly mission to understand the samples that they take. However, the data they get back might not be as easy as they expect to read. But why? Scientists theorize that there is a methane cycle going on Titan, similar to the water and nitrogen cycles that happen here on Earth. The only challenge is Titan is a very foreign place to us. We've never really been able to get this kind of data from such a place before. Therefore, when Dragonfly takes surface samples from various locations on Titan, we're going to get weird data points back, which might take scientists quite a bit of time to understand and comprehend what it actually means. However, this will be very insightful for our overall understanding of astrobiology and how these organic molecules may be forming on Saturn's moon. Let's talk about the mission. Dragonfly is being manufactured by Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory and is going to be operated by NASA. This is a part of their New Frontiers program, which has other missions such as Juno, New Horizons, and OSIRIS-REx with these. Therefore, Dragonfly is going to be a major project for NASA in the coming years. And I say the coming years because it's not expected to launch until 2025 or 2026, with it landing on Titan in 2034, which means we won't see it landing on Titan for another 15 years. Now, the current design of Dragonfly has a mass of around 450 kilograms, or roughly the same mass of a grand piano. The landing location has been selected as Shangri-La, which is shown as the dark region at the center of this image. This will be a relatively safe landing zone for it, as it is thought to be a large flat plane. Dragonfly is a dual quadcopter that will be traversing around Titan by flying. As I mentioned previously, it's a little bit easier to fly on Titan than it is on Earth. Therefore, they're using that to their advantage in order to travel much further distances than they would be able to do with just a regular rover. Now, each one of these flights is expected to go tens of miles or kilometers, and they have a leapfrog approach, which means they're actually going to fly over their scheduled landing zone and look out for future landing spots for scientists to look at and prepare for their next flight. Now, since Saturn is so far away from Earth, these flights are going to have to be completely autonomous, meaning Dragonfly is going to have to be completely aware of itself and where it is in the sky, which means it will have forward and downward facing cameras to help it be able to fly around the region. So it will be a relatively smart mission, and there'll have to be a lot of studies done here on Earth in order to make sure that everything is working according to plan. The mission is being designed to last for 2 Earth years on Titan. However, I expect that the mission will get extended if it's still able to fly, because I imagine Dragonfly will be pretty revolutionary to the future of science and astrobiology. However, since it's going to be lasting so long on Titan, we will expect it to fly over hundreds of kilometers or miles across the surface of Titan. And because of this, we will be getting a lot of very interesting images of lakes and rivers of methane and ethane. So that should be really interesting. Now, since the atmosphere is so thick on Titan, they can't use solar panels, and it's even worse because they're farther away from the sun when they're orbiting around Saturn. Therefore, they end up using a radioisotope thermoelectric generator for their power source, making the mission nuclear powered. Now, this is similar to the Curiosity rover and what it uses to power itself. However, that also makes it really fun to say that NASA is sending a nuclear-powered drone to Saturn's largest moon, Titan, to look for microbial life. That's pretty fascinating. I can't wait to see what this mission entails, and I imagine I'll be creating a lot more videos about it in the future as more details about the science and the technology on board comes out. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.